today's class. Yes, everyone switch on your videos. Let's start today's class. Right, so in the previous class, we were talking about how the organisms, they maintain their homeostasis and how do they respond to the abiotic factors that are there. So in the first one, we'll talk about how they regulate. We know that there are regulators, conformers, and then there are partial regulators, right? Now, those organisms that regulate, so some organisms, they are able to maintain homeostasis, meaning the balance inside the body, the osmotic pressure and everything, by physiological and sometimes behavioral means, which ensures constant body temperature, constant osmotic concentration. All of this is considered as the homeostasis only, right? So to maintain that, the person uses certain physiology, meaning the things that they have in their body and the way that they perform their metabolism or all of these things, that comes under physiology. And then also behavioral, something that they do. Now, all birds, mammals, and a very few lower vertebrate and invertebrate species are indeed capable of such regulation, meaning thermoregulation and osmoregulation. The regulation of body temperature is called as thermoregulation, whereas the regulation of the osmotic concentration of the body is known as osmoregulation. Now, evolutionary biologists believe that success of mammals is largely due to their ability to maintain a constant body temperature and thrive whether they live in Antarctica or they live in Sahara Desert. We know that mammals are found everywhere, right? Now, why are they found everywhere? It's because of their this particular thing which is known as homeostasis that they have in their body. Okay, students, why only two students have switched their videos on? Do I need to, like, how many times do I need?
Ma'am, I won't be able to switch on my camera, ma'am. The internet connection here in this hotel is weak.
No?
The internet connection in this hotel is weak, ma'am.
Okay. Also, as far as all of you students go, are you people receiving a notification that says the like about the backup class? And how many of you are receiving? Amna, Siddhika, you people are receiving it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay. Why
ma'am.
did no one attended the class today?
Ma'am, my father had an operation, so we went to the hospital, so I was outside.
Okay. What about others? Siddhika, what about you?
I hadn't checked the messages, ma'am.
See, students, your backup classes are being arranged. For those of you that have not done the chapters like sexual reproduction in flowering plants, then human reproduction, principle of variation, like the genetics part and all of that, backup classes are being held. And if you people are interested, then tell me here. And if you're not interested, then also tell me. Like, why should I also waste my time? So whoever is interested in the backup class, that those people, like those students that have not done those chapters with me, they can join the backup class. So you people tell me whether you are interested in doing that or not. Like, all of you have done it on your own. Also, didn't I ask you people to switch on your videos? Siddhika and Amna, please switch on your video right now. You people are in class 12th. I don't know why I have to keep nagging like you people are in KG or nursery classes. Switch on your videos. I will not repeat myself again.
Ma'am, my laptop is broken. I can't turn on the video.
From like 2 to 3 weeks, your laptop is broken only. You haven't gotten it fixed yet.
No, ma'am, the entire screen broke.
Now, why don't you use your phone or some device from which you can actually turn on your video? This is not justified. Till when will you do this? The classes will end, until then your laptop will be broken. How will you switch on your video? These are very lame excuses, Siddhika. Please get it fixed. It's very irritating. See, students, I'll tell you as a thumb rule over here to everyone. You enter this class, switch on your videos before me asking. Yes, the focus mode is always on. Switch on the video. Keep your video switched on until I ask you to switch it off. That's it. That's all I'm asking for 1.5 hours. After that, you can do whatever you want to do. I don't care. Also, as far as the backup classes are concerned, whoever is interested, do tell me now, because I don't want to waste my time also in unnecessarily waiting, because I waited half an hour today. If anyone is there who is not by chance joining any class, whether it is the regular class, whether it is an extra class or backup class, please inform the authority, right? Inform the team that you won't be joining because of this reason. Obviously, people can be absent. There's no, you can say harm in that, or there's no bad thing in that. You can have any kind of reason for being absent. Just inform us so that I won't stay here waiting half an hour or 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. So this much is clear, right? So you people are interested. Amna, what about you? Will you continue your backup classes?
Yes, ma'am.
And Siddhika, what about you? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and whoever gets the notification, please join the class on time. Don't be late in the class. And if you are in any way going to be absent, inform the team. All right, so I was talking about homeostasis, and the organisms that are successful in doing so is because they have this property wherein they can physiologically or behaviorally regulate their body temperature. That is why you can find organisms in the coldest area, that is Antarctica, and even in the Saharan desert. Now, the mechanism used by most mammals to regulate their body temperature are similar to the ones that we human use. We know that our internal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, right? And we maintain that. In summer, when we feel hot, we use the air conditioners. Like, this is something you can say externally we are taking the help, or this is like in terms of behavioral method. So apart from that, if you talk about in terms of physiology, so whenever it is hot, what do? We start sweating, which will cool us down. It will bring down the temperature of our body. And whenever in the winter case, what we do, we start to shiver, which is a kind of exercise which produces heat and raises the body temperature. This is about the animals. Now, talking about the plants, plants do not have any kind of system in their body so that they can regulate their temperature. That is the reason why you might have noticed that when the summertime comes, there are many plants that die. Right? There are so many plants that they become yellowish and then they dry and dissipate. So plants do not have this mechanism so that they can do homeostasis. It's not found in them. So this is about the regulators. Now talking about the conformers, right? See, conformers are those organisms, including the plants, that cannot maintain homeostasis. And this accounts for 99% of animals and nearly all the plants. They cannot do so, right? We don't come under this. We come under that 1%. Now, their body temperature changes with the ambient temperature. In aquatic animals, the osmotic concentration of the body fluids change with that of ambient water osmotic concentration. Whatever is the osmotic concentration of the surrounding water that the aquatic animals are living in, their body will change accordingly to that. So they do not have this property of maintaining the concentration of the osmolytes or maintaining any kind of concentration in their body. So these animals or these plants, they are simply conformers. Considering the benefits of a constant internal environment to the environment, we must ask why these conformers had not evolved. See, they have not evolved because they are, you can say, alive in the way they are, right? Even though they do not maintain a body temperature, still they have like managed to stay alive. They, like, their population did not get wiped off. Now many simply sweat it out and resign themselves to suboptimal optimal performances in hot summer months. Now thermoregulation is energetically expensive for many organisms. This thermoregulation that we do, wherein we shiver, right, or we sweat, thermoregulation means temperature regulation or heat regulation. So we do, because our body is capable of doing that. We have ATP in our body and everything, right? But for smaller organisms, they cannot do it because it is very expensive for them in terms of energy. Their body will not be able to produce that huge amount of energy to do this process of osmoregulation. Now, this is particularly true for small animals like shrews and hummingbirds. They can't do so. Also, heat loss or heat gain is a function of surface area. Since small animals, they have a larger surface area related to their volume, like they have a greater surface area. Their bodies are not big, but their surface areas are greater. So they tend to lose body heat very fast when it is cold outside. Then they have to expend much energy to generate body heat through metabolism. This is the main reason why you will not find small animals in the polar regions. Have you seen the animals of the polar regions? Polar bears and like foxes, right? Wolves that are there in the polar region. They are big animals. You won't find a mouse there. You won't find an insect there, right? Why? Because they can't regulate their body heat. They can't regulate the temperature of the body because they cannot, like the smaller animals cannot synthesize that much of an energy for this process. Now, during the course of evolution, the costs and the benefits of maintaining a constant internal environment are taken into consideration. Some species have evolved the ability to regulate, but only over a limited range of environmental condition, beyond which they will simply conform. If the stressful external conditions are localized or remain only for a short duration, the organism has two alternatives. Let us see. See, they have evolved this mechanism. They know that we can't generate heat, we can't make our bodies cool. So they have taken in behavioral methods to help them survive. But again, this is not for a longer period of time, it is for a shorter duration that they do so. Now let us see what they do. The first one is that they migrate. Have you heard about migration? Right? You might have heard in younger classes also that there is a set of birds that come to a hotter place when it is cold at that area, right? That is migration. Now, do they come forever? No, right? Once the temperature here becomes less and there it is fine, then they will go back. So that is migration. So the organism can move away temporarily from the stressful habitat to a more hospitable area and return whenever the stressful period is over. Right? In human analogy, the strategy is like a person moving from Delhi to Shimla during the summer vacation time, right? Most of, like, many people in India during their summer vacations, what they do, they go to visit a hill station. Why? Because hill stations, they are cold and summers are brutal, right? How many of you hate summers? How many of you like summers?
I
Is
like
there
summer,
any?
man.
You like summers?
Yes, man.
Okay, why?
I hate the winters, man. It's too cold. You can't do anything in it. I hate it. In summer, you can be free, anything. You can just sit home, relax.
Okay, it's the opposite for me. I love the winters. Like, I can, I can bear being like under 10 degrees Celsius, I'll be fine. But heat is unbearable. I only like summers because of mangoes. That's it. We like summers because of, if summers won't be there, then mangoes will also not be there. Anyway, moving forward. So yeah, this is just like how humans do. But again, our case is not migration, right? We call it vacation. Now, many animals, particularly birds, during winter undertake long distance migration to more hospitable areas. and this line is very important, that every year or every winter, the famous Kiolado National Park in Bharatpur in Rajasthan, it hosts thousands of migratory birds that come from Siberia and other extremely cold northern regions. Right? They come from the very cold areas. And where do they come? So they come to India, or particularly in Rajasthan. Now, you people might know that Rajasthan is a desert area. So imagine how hot it must be. So that is how they, you can say, escape their harsh conditions temporarily. That happens temporarily. So this is what migration is. Now, confirmers, they can do it for a little while. So the first thing is that they can either migrate, and the next thing is suspend. Now let us see what is suspend. In bacteria, fungi and lower plants, various kinds of thick-walled spores are formed which help them to survive unfavorable conditions. You might remember, students, that during unfavorable conditions, meaning when space is not there, when enough nutrition is not there, perfect climate is not there, bacteria forms endospores, right? And when they germinate, new bacteria they are formed. Now, in higher plants, seed and some other vegetative reproductive structures, they serve as a mean to tide over periods of stress besides helping in dispersal. And we know that seed, when they are dispersed to the different areas, they germinate into the new plant, right? So apart from doing that purpose of germination or acting like the precursor of new plant life, what else does the seed do? The seed, you can know that the seed will never germinate until and unless the situation is favorable. So it does the suspend work also. Now, you might have remembered dormancy, right? The period of inactivity for which the seed germination does not happen. So this is, you can say, an adaptive measure which is present in the plants. Just 1 second, students. Yes. So, yeah, so that is dormancy. Now, in animals, the organism, if unable to migrate, because not all organisms can fly, right? So, they can escape the stressful condition by escaping in time. Have you heard about hibernation? The
Yes,
winter
ma'am.
sleep, right? Winter sleep. What happens in that? In the harsh winter climate, there are certain bears or certain organisms that undergo a long period of sleep, right? They undergo hibernation, during which they will not do hunting, they will not do anything. So why do they do that? So as to escape the harsh weather condition, because they can't migrate. Now, the familiar case of bears going into hibernation during winter is an example of escape in time. Same thing happens in the summer also. Like the winter sleep is hibernation and the summer sleep is known as estivation. The snails and the fishes, they go into estivation to avoid summer related problems like heat and desiccation. Apart from that, under unfavorable conditions, there are many zooplankton species in the lakes and ponds that are known to enter diapause, which is again just like how dormancy is there, same way in the case of zooplanktons. They undergo diapause, during which they will not develop, they will not divide, they will not take the nutritions or anything of that sort. So conformers, we know that they cannot maintain their body temperature, but they have adapted certain mechanisms to do so temporarily. Any doubts up until now, students? Clear to you all? All right. Now, talking about adaptations. What are the various adaptations? Now, while considering various alternatives available to organisms for coping with extremes in their environment, we have seen that there are some organisms that are able to respond through certain physiological adjustment, while the others will do behavioral stuff, right? Migration, hibernation, and all. Now, these responses are actually their adaptation, right? This is how they are adapting to their environment. So, we can say that adaptation is any attribute of the organism. It can be morphological, it can be physiological, and it can be behavioral. And this adaptation, it enables the organism to survive and reproduce in its habitat, right? Because if they will not adapt to the environmental conditions, they will die. So that is why these adaptations, it helps them to survive. Now, many adaptations have evolved over a long evolutionary time, and they are genetically fixed. In the absence of an external source of water, the kangaroo rat in the North American desert is capable of meeting all its water requirements through its internal fat oxidation. Meaning, when the oxidation of fat takes place in these rats, the water need is supplied. Clear? So whenever they have water stress or they require water, so what happens? If the water is not available to them, then they will take their internal fat oxidation, meaning fat in their body will get broken down and it will suffice the need for various like water and everything. Clear? So this is physiological thing. It's not a behavioral thing, right? Now, apart from this, it has its ability to concentrate its urine so that minimal volume of water is used to remove excretory products, so that not a lot of water is lost from the body. Because if water is not there and the organism is also losing a lot of water, then it will be a water stressful condition. So it concentrates its urine. Then many desert plants, they have a thick cuticle on their leaf surfaces. What is cuticle, student? Cuticle. See, cuticle is like a thick layer which is present on top of the plant's body surface, more like on the leaf areas. Now these cuticles, they are sort of like a coating. So it will not allow the water to escape the surface of the leaf. That is why cuticles are present. Apart from that, you people might have heard about sunken stomata, right? Stomata, they are sunken. Sunken means they are deeply situated. And when they are deeply situated, then again, water loss will be minimized. Apart from that, they have a special photosynthetic pathway, which is known as CAM pathway. You remember, if you remember C2 cycle in photosynthesis, crassulation, acid metabolism. They have this photosynthetic pathway which does not let them lose a lot of water, and it enables the stomata to remain closed during the daytime, because during the daytime what happens, the sun is there and the stomata is open. Now if the sun is there and the stomata is open, it means that a lot of water will be lost through the stomata. So in the CAM pathway, what they do is that their stomata, they remain closed during the day and they remain open during the night. So they have this mechanism of making their food in the night. Clear? That is what CAM does. Some desert plants like Opuntia, they have no leaves and they are reduced to spines, and the photosynthetic function is taken over by flattened stems. Now you might have seen cactus also. Now Opuntia is a like flat organ which has thorns present on top of it, right? Spine like structures, and they help in the loss of water. Clear? So this is about the you can say adaptation that the organism may have. Now one more thing, mammals. Talking about mammals, so those mammals that live in the colder climates, they have shorter ears, they have small ears and small limbs, so that they can minimize heat loss. Now when I say mammals from the colder climates, do not imagine human beings from Kashmir. Not humans, we're talking about mammals, right? Have you seen a polar bear's ear? So tiny, right? It's cute and tiny. And their legs and like limbs are also not very long. They're not very long in terms of length. They're like, you can say, chubby, right? They have fat layer on their body, right? So why? So as to minimize the heat loss. This property, or this you can say phenomena, wherein the mammals or any organism would have shorter ear and shorter limbs to minimize the heat loss. This is what we call as Allen's rule. Now, in the polar seas, aquatic mammals like seals, which have a thick layer of fat, blubber below their skin, it acts like an insulator and reduces loss of body heat. Now, those organisms that live under the water, so obviously water is cold, and even during the winter, the water becomes even colder. So, the seals and the aquatic mammals like whales and all, they have a blubber. Blubber means right under their skin, there is a layer of fat that is sort of, just imagine it acting like a coat. How we wear an overcoat and we feel warm. Same way, the blubber is not worn above, it is present under the layer of skin, and it provides heat. It acts like an insulator. It does not let the cold get inside. Now, some organisms, they possess adaptations that are physiological, which allow them to respond quickly to stressful conditions. If you have ever been to high altitude, how many of you have ever been to any mountain range, like mountain areas? Is there anyone in the class? None of you. See, when you go to a mountain or a hilly area, what will happen is that as you start to go up and up, you will feel breathlessness. You will feel dizzy, right? You'll not feel nice. You'll feel low on oxygen. Why? Because at higher altitudes, the pressure of the gas is very less. So human beings can have deficiency. So this feeling that we feel sick, we feel like vomiting, we feel like shortness of breath, this is known as altitude sickness. It is known as altitude sickness. Some of the symptoms of it is nausea, fatigue, heart palpitations. Now why? Because there is the low atmospheric pressure of the high altitudes, right? There is low atmospheric pressure, because of which oxygen is not available enough. Then after a while, you feel fine. Like for example, you went there, you went to the hilly area, and after half an hour, you'll start feeling fine. There is a reason. Why? Because under low oxygen conditions, our body synthesizes many more red blood cells. So because of that red blood cell production, then what happens? The level of oxygen in our body starts becoming normal, and we are capable of using the oxygen better. So the body compensates low oxygen availability by increasing red blood cell production, by decreasing the binding affinity of hemoglobin. You people, if you remember body fluids in circulation or respiration, that breathing and respiration, you might remember that hemoglobin attaches with an oxygen, and wherever it is needed, it dissociates, right? So there is an affinity between hemoglobin and oxygen. That is why they get attached. So if this affinity is reduced, then the oxygen will be available more. And if the affinity is increased, then the oxygen will be available less. So in this case, the oxygen availability decreases. Apart from that, the breathing rate increases. So these are some of the way by which the body compensates for the change of stress, like environment, a stressful environment. Clear? Any doubts? Now, in
Mm,
most mammals, the metabolic reaction and hence all the physiological function proceed optimally in narrow temperature range. Right? Just like for us humans, our body temperature range is 37 degrees Celsius. Right? And we cannot work other than this. Because at higher temperature, our proteins, our enzymes, our DNA, it will start getting denatured. And even under low temperature also that will happen, meaning under the low temperature it will get inactive. So that is why we have an optimum temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius. But there are microbes such as archaebacteria that flourish in hot springs and deep sea hydrothermal vents. How is this possible? Who can tell me this? Why are like the members of archaebacteria able to survive under harsh conditions?
because they have a walled endosperm. They have wall made of spores,
They have wall.
like endospermic wall type.
No. Endospore is something else. Endospore is also a resistant mechanism, but not what archaebacteria have. See, the cell wall of archaebacteria is very different from the normal bacteria. Okay, that is why, because of their cell wall modification, they can thrive in such extreme conditions in which the normal bacteria would also not survive. Now, many fishes thrive in Antarctic waters where the temperature is always below zero, right? There are many fishes, they have this mechanism. Then a large variety of marine invertebrates and fish live at great depths in the ocean where the pressure could be greater than 100 times the normal atmospheric pressure. Still, they live there, right? Because they have adapted to that situation. They have certain adaptations in their body because of which they are able to thrive. Now, organisms living in such extreme environments show a fascinating array of biochemical adaptations. Apart from having bodily adaptations, they have biochemical adaptations, meaning certain reactions that occur in their body, they are also adapted to the situation, right? The enzymes will work at higher pH, higher temperature, like they have certain adaptations like that. Now, some organisms show behavioral response to cope with the variations in their environment. Like desert lizard, they lack the physiological ability that mammals have to deal with high temperature. So what they do, they bask in the sun. Like whenever the sun is out, they go there and sit under the sun so that they can get as much heat as possible. They absorb heat when their body temperature drops below the comfort zone. But when their body temperature starts increasing, then they will come back in under the shade. So this is their behavior because of which they are doing so. They don't have this bodily mechanism to regulate the heat. Some species are capable of burrowing into the soil to hide and escape from the above ground heat. So again, this is also behavioral. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am, could you explain the starting of the adaptation?
Which one?
The starting part, the interconnection was weak, so I couldn't hear your voice back then.
The starting part of which part? Like conformers?
Adaptations.
Adaptations.
Adaptation.
Yeah, see, adaptations, in that I have said that there are certain organisms, like see, every organism has certain type of adaptations in their body. Now, these adaptations can be behavioral, that like the organism is doing something to maintain the body temperature. It can be physiological. The organism is not doing, but it is happening inside the body, right? And accordingly, there are various kinds of adaptation. For example, if we talk about the plants that live in the desert, right, they have a very unique photosynthetic pathway so that their stomata remains closed during the daytime and it opens during the nighttime. This is what is known as CAM pathway, calcination acid metabolism. Apart from that, there are many plants like opuntia. They have spines present so as to reduce the water loss. Then talking about the organisms that live in the desert area, like kangaroo rat. Okay, so whenever they do not have water, so they do or they suffice their water requirements by the oxidation of their fat. So this is various organisms doing various processes to adapt. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now talking about population or population attributes. Now in nature, we rarely find isolated single individuals of any species. Majority of them live in groups in a well-defined geographical area. Right? They share or they compete for the similar resources. They interbreed, right? Potentially interbreed and thus constitute a population. Meaning, for like in order for a population to be established, the organism must live in a huge number. They must have same like of a population that is like the members of the population, they must have all the attributes that are alike, that are very similar to each other. Apart from that, they must be able to live in harmony with each other, right? And they must be also able to share or compete for the resources that are available. And this is what we constitute as a population. Now, although the term interbreeding implies sexual reproduction, a group of individuals resulting from even asexual reproduction is also considered as population. Because when we talk about population, so population is like a group of organisms that have same characteristics, right? That is why we say human population, population of humans, right? All of us are humans, all of us are same, like digestive system, respiratory system, all of that. So that becomes a population. Now, all the cormorants in a wetland, like rats in an abandoned dwelling, teakwood trees in a forest tract, bacteria in a culture plate, lotus plant in a pond, these all are various examples of population. Even the ants, like the group of ants that are present in the house, that becomes the population of ants in the house. The swarm of bees, right? Uh, on the beehive, that also becomes a population of a bee. So in earlier chapters, you have learned that organism has the ability to cope with a change environment. But talking about the population, population ecology is therefore an important area of ecology because it links ecology to the population genetics and evolution. Because it goes hand in hand, don't you think? Like, however many resources will be present, accordingly, the organism's population will increase or decrease. Let's just say there is a land A and land B, right? So now land A has a lot of resources, enough sunlight, enough water, land, and everything. So, and the B does not have enough of it. Now, what do you think that the population of B will survive? If they're not getting optimum temperature, pressure, or anything of that sort, they will die. So
No,
basically, so the ecology, the way the world is, the way the ecosystem is, that is actually linked with the population genetics, how the population attributes are, and also to the evolution. Now, a population has certain attributes that are individual, like that an individual organism does not. Meaning, any individual can have birth or death, but a population has birth rate, death rate, right? Per day, per second, per month, per year, right? Now, in population, these rates refers to per capita birth and deaths respectively, like birth rates and death rates. How many organisms, like how many human beings or how many organisms are being born, how many of them are being dead, like they are dying. So these rates, hence expressed in change in numbers, increase or decrease with respect to the members of the population. Here is an example. For example, in a pond, there are 20 lotus plants. There were 20 lotus plants last year, and through reproduction, 8 new plants are added, taking the current population to 28. So when we want to find out the rate of the birth, like the birth rate, so it becomes 8. 8 upon 20. Why? Because that is how you find out the rate. How many new organisms are added divided by the total number that were existed. And per year, 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. Right? So if 4 individuals in a lab population of 40 fruit flies died during a specified time interval, we say that the death rate is 4 upon 40, that is 0.1. Like we are finding out the rate. Remember that the number of deaths, like 1 death, 2 deaths, 3 deaths, that is for an individual. But the death rate and the birth rate is for the population. So the first attribute of the population is the death rate or the rate of birth and death. Apart from that, another attribute characteristic of a population is sex ratio. Sex ratio means how many females is to males are there in any population, right? So meaning 60% are females, 40% are males. This is like one example. 60 is to 40 is the ratio, right? So ratio of how many males and how many females are available, that is the sex ratio, which is also a characteristic attribute of the population. Any doubts up until now, students?
no, ma'am.
Now, a population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. Now, this part is very important, students. Many questions can be asked. This part. People can mark in your books also this particular part, that is the age pyramid. See, talking about the age pyramid, so we know that in a population there can be people with variety of ages, variety of ways that they are existing, right? That is what is actually the age factor, right? There are some people that are very young, infant stage. Then there are some that are in the reproductive stage, meaning they're adults, right? They're getting married, they're starting their family. And then there are those that are in the old age. They can't reproduce, they are weak, and they'll die, right? Like basically, death can happen to anyone, but if we talk in terms of age and population, this is what we think about. Now, if the age distribution, percent individuals of a given age is plotted for the population, the resulting structure is known as the age pyramid. That is how we find out the age pyramid. Now, for human population, the age pyramids generally show different distribution of males and females in a combined diagram. The shape of the pyramid reflects the growth of the growth status, whether it is a growing pyramid, it is a stabilizing pyramid, or it will not grow at all. Depending upon that, the age pyramid, there are three types: expanding, stable, and declining. Now, if you talk, like listen to the names carefully, you would make out easily what that particular age pyramid is like, right? Expanding means it is growing. And when does an age pyramid gets expanding? When the people in the pre-reproductive stage are more in number, followed by the people in the reproductive stage, and then followed by the post-reproductive stage. Meaning, those are those people or those human beings that are in the pre-reproductive stage, meaning that they have more life to live, right? They will get older, they'll get adults, they'll get married, they'll reproduce, and then they become the reproductive age group, right? And then after all of those things are done, then the person goes into the post reproductive age, meaning now they cannot reproduce anymore, they are old. So depending upon these three attributes, we have three different kinds of age pyramids. We have stabilizing pyramid, we have uh, expanding pyramid, and we have also declining pyramid. Now if we talk about the stable, here the number of people in the pre-reproductive stage and the reproductive stage is equal, then that is a stable age pyramid. Stable, it's not growing. The number of reproductive age people, they are same. But declining, when in any population, the number of the pre-reproductive group of people decreases, meaning now there are no more youngsters, because you people also know that there is a saying that says that younger ones are the future generation, isn't it? Because they will only grow up, they will only reproduce, and so on. So whenever the people in the pre-reproductive age, they are less, then that kind of an age pyramid is declining age pyramid. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the size of the population tells us a lot about its status in the habitat. Whatever ecological processes we wish to investigate in a population, be it the outcome of competition or the impact of predator, this age pyramid is very important, or the size of the population is taken into consideration. Now, the size in nature could be as low as less than 10, meaning Siberian cranes in Bharatpur, they are very less in number, right? Because there is a little group that is migrating. So the number of them is less than 10 also. And it can go to millions if you talk about a bacteria that is Chlamydomonas in a pond. Chlamydomonas is not actually a bacteria, it's an algae, green algae. So if you ever try to go and count the number of Chlamydomonas in a pond, will you be able to do so? No, because they are always in the number of thousands and millions, right? So the number of the population can vary a lot depending on various parameters of various factors. Now, the size of the population is known as the population density. It It is denoted as N, capital N. Now, this is not measured in numbers only. Although total number is generally the most appropriate measure of population density. In an area, if there are 200 Parthenium plants, but only a single huge banyan tree, so we can say that the banyan tree population density will be low as compared to the Parthenium, isn't it? Because the number of Parthenium plants are more and banyan tree is just one. Now, in that community, banyan tree will be less in population. In such cases, the percent cover or biomass is more meaningful rather than the number. Like, for example, if the banyan tree is huge, it is big, really big, like great number of branches are there, means that it will perform more photosynthesis. It means that it will give more shelter, right? So the number doesn't matter over here rather than what it does, right? Any doubts? All
No,
right.
ma'am.
Ma'am,
So in
can you
such
explain once more
which part?
population density?
See, the size of the population is known as population density. Now, this population density, whenever we think about the size, we will think that, okay, if there will be greater number of organisms in a population, it means that there is more population density, right? But that is not the case. For example, now they have given, to justify this, they have given example of 200 Parthenium plants. Parthenium plants are tiny plants. They're not huge. And compared to that, only one banyan tree. So we can, if you think about it like that, banyan tree would be happening to be less in number, right? Because there is only one, and Parthenium plants will be more. But
Yeah.
not necessarily this is logical in all the cases, because the percentage cover or the biomass production, meaning even though the banyan tree is one, what does it do? How big is it? Is it fixing atmospheric carbon dioxide? Is it making enough food? Is it providing shelter? So that constitutes the importance of it. Clear?
Yes.
What is biomass?
Biomass is basically how much production of any organic molecule is done by that particular organism. That is the
Oh,
biomass. Now the
what is
total number.
biome?
Hmm?
Biomes.
Biomes, they are the habitat where the organisms live. Like grassland is a biome. Major biome, meaning the major habitat where majority of the organisms can be found. Desert is a biome. Forest, like tropical forest, temperate forest, these are all biomes. Now, so total number, again, not an easily adoptable measure if the population is huge and counting is impossible or very time confusing, consuming. Now, if you have a dense laboratory culture of bacteria in a petri dish, will you be able to count it all? For example, millions or 2-3 millions of bacterial colonies are made. Will you be able to count it? No. There is actually, there is a lab apparatus that helps you count the colonies of bacteria. But if it is present in millions of numbers, you will never be able to count it all. And it necessarily does not mean that only 1 million will be there. It can be several millions also, right? 10 million, 5 million. So in that case, number can, like, not necessarily, density does not depend on the number of it. Clear? All right. Now, sometimes for certain ecological investigations, there is no need to know the absolute population density. Like, we cannot know the absolute exact density of any population. Let's just say if we are counting the human population only. So a person went from home to home in every state, in every country, right? And then he counted. Now maybe the next day a baby was born in someone's house. The whole entire population density is like now wonked up, isn't it? So sometimes a person takes relative densities to measure it. Relative means approximately these many organisms are there. Approximately these are the, like, the number of population. Clear? Now,
Yes,
sometimes
ma'am.
for certain ecological investigations, we use relative densities. Now, for instance, the number of fish caught per trap is good enough measure of its total population density in the lake. However, whenever we want to do, for example, if you want to measure how many tigers are there in the park or the national, not park, what is it called? The national park, right? Not normal park. Imagine normal parks having tigers in it. So, yeah. So, talking about the national parks, now, if a person wants to do tiger census, meaning the number of, they want to find out how many tigers are there in the national park. Do you think it will be possible to count each tiger? For example, most of the tigers, they look alike. So, you took a count, a head count, and you
Yes, ma'am.
counted 100 tigers. Now, what if when you went to count 101, what if that first tiger was there? So you're counting one tiger two times, isn't it? So it will never be accurate. So many a times in the tiger reserves, they do not count the tiger heads or they do not count the tigers. They rather count the pug marks. Like pug means their paw, the tiger's paw. Like how much or how many of them they are found. Apart from that, they also count the fecal pellets. I don't know how they do that. I don't know, but this is how they do to get the exact number. Even so, it is not very accurate. Any doubts? I don't think there's anything you people need the explanation for in this particular chapter. Now talking about population growth. How can a population grow? If I ask you this question, what would your answer be? How does a
The
population grow?
reproduction.
By reproduction, right? When births are done, right? When people are being born or any organism is being born. All right, good. Now, the size of a population for any species is not a static parameter, right? Population is always growing or decreasing for like different areas. It keeps changing in time depending on various factors like food availability, predation pressure, and adverse weather. In fact, it is these changes in the population density that gives us some idea of what is happening to the population, whether the population is increasing or decreasing. Because we know that environment has this mechanism to check the population, isn't it? Now, if you might remember, like during the initial starting of summers in India, you might, if you are updated with the news of what happens in India, you might have seen there are news that says that many people died because of heat stroke. Have you heard about it? Heat stroke deaths. So this is one way of nature's check on the population. Now those many people died, so the population did not increase. Rather, some members got disappeared from the population. So this is what they're wanting to say, that the this thing population is not a static matter, right? It is not a static thing. Now, in fact, it is these changes in the population density that gives us some idea of what is happening to the population, right? Whether it is flourishing or declining. Whatever might be the ultimate reason, the density of a population in a given habitat fluctuates due to changes in the four basic processes: natality, mortality, immigration, and emigration. They have given four headings to this attribute that actually regulates the increase or decrease in the population. The first one is natality. Now, what is that? The number of births that are happening, right? However many the number of births, that is natality. Mortality is the number of deaths in a population, how many people are dying. Then there is immigration, meaning how many organisms or individuals or species they're coming to one habitat from somewhere else. That is immigration. And if any organism from this habitat goes somewhere else, that is emigration. So these four property determines the population density. Clear? Any doubts
Yes,
in
ma'am.
natality, mortality, immigration, emigration? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Always remember that immigration and natality will be better for increment for population density, and mortality and emigration will decrease the population density. So if you were to find out the equation, so n, that is population density at time t plus 1, is equal to n at time t, b plus I, meaning the number of births and the immigration, and the number minus the number of deaths and the emigration. Just write it as such in your notebook. Like, this is the particular formula wherein n at t stands for the population density at time t, and b stands for the natality, that is birth rate. I stands for immigration, D stands for death, that is mortality, and E stands for emigration.
What is T plus 1?
T plus 1 is the density at time T plus 1. Like, they have taken two time periods. Like, one is time and T plus 1, one is time T. To differentiate that, we are talking about two different time periods. Clear? You don't have to equate T plus 1. It's just saying that population density at time T plus 1 to take two observations. Now you can see from the above equation that the population density will increase if the number of if the number of birth and immigration increases. And if the number of death and emigration increases, then the population will decrease. Now, under normal condition, births and deaths are the most important factors influencing population density. The other two factors assuming importance, for example, if a new habitat is just being colonized, immigration may contribute more significantly to population growth than birth rate. Why? See this line and tell me why. Yes, tell me. Anyone can answer. Why?
Because new people are entering the new land. That's why.
But how is it?
It's better for the population to increase.
No, but immigration and birth rate, both of them are increasing the population only. But this line says that immigration may contribute more rather than birth rate. Why?
Because the new people who just came in, reproduction happens, and then it just increases more. But how to say it?
Because it's being colonized.
What?
What is the question?
My question is, see, this line says that for anything like if a new habitat is there, okay, a new land, a new piece of land is there. Now, colonize means colonies being formed, right? People appearing there.
Oh, I thought colonized.
What was colonized according to you?
The British colonized India.
Okay, great.
Because birth rate takes time.
Yes, exactly. Very good. Birth rate takes time, right? It is easier and faster for people to come, travel, and reach a new land rather than people being born. Imagine you want to, like, you have bought a land and you want to increase the population of that land. So now you are adding some people from somewhere else. And the second is that you are putting people here, and then what happens? Mute. Wait. Yeah, and the second is that birth rate, meaning people giving birth to new organism, new humans or people. So that is slower. Rather, so this is the reason why immigration contributes more to it. Clear?
I didn't understand.
Which one is faster? Traveling to a new place or giving birth to a new organism?
Traveling to.
Traveling, right? For example, this is the land. We want to colonize it. Not British colonize. We want to make colonies. We want to increase the population of this land. So now there is another land wherein species are there. When these species will come here, immigrate, right? It will automatically increase the population rather than some species being here and them reproducing. If it is human, then each organism will take 9 months to reproduce another organism. 9 months. And immigration can happen in 2 days, 1 day, half a day. That is why immigration contributes more rather than birth rate. But both of them are important. Don't get me wrong. Not one of them is like not important as such. Clear? Now we'll talk about growth models. Does the growth of a population with time show any specific and predictable pattern? We have been concerned about unbridled human population. What is the meaning of unbridled? Does anyone know? Let me search.
Undisturbed type.
No, unbridled is not controlled, means uncontrolled. So we have been concerned. Oh, nice word. So all of us have learned a new word today. Unbridled means uncontrolled. So we have been concerned about uncontrolled or unbridled human population growth and problems created by it in our country. Now, can someone tell me what are the various problems that can be created with population increase? A lot of population, like population overgrowth. What problems can it cause?
Overuse of resources.
Hmm.
Lack of space.
Lack of food.
Lack of food, lack of resources, lack of space. Very good. Exactly. So these are the things that can be caused. So that is why it has been a concern. Overpopulation is a great, great concern in us, right, in our minds. Now let us see the different types of population growth, how the growth is perceived. The first type of growth that we are going to talk about is exponential growth. See, in this chapter, many questions come from these growth models also. All the analytical parts that are there, the theory part will not be asked that much. The part that you're studying for the first time, that is going to be asked much more. Okay. So talking about the exponential growth. In this case, we are going to take this scenario wherein the resources are unlimited, meaning unlimited sunlight, water, and everything is available. So if you think, if you provide unlimited resources, what will happen to the population? Will it increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Increase, right? But do you think it is logical? Are resources unlimited?
No.
No.
They're not. They're definitely not. Now, resources in terms of food, space, their availability is very important for the growth of a population. Ideally, when the resources are in the habitat are unlimited, each species has the ability to realize fully, and its potential to grow in number, right? They can use these resources and grow in number, in a lot of number. So then the population grows in an exponential or geometric fashion. They have given certain this thing also, the equations. So see, in terms of exponential growth, always remember in this case, we are taking a very ideal situation wherein the resources are unlimited. And if the resources are unlimited, then that means the growth will also be unlimited. So if a population size is n, the birth rate are b, small b, and death rate is small d. So when you find out the whole entire equation, so dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. No numericals will be asked from this. Be sure. There will be no numericals asked. It's just that they will give you the example. They'll say what will happen if we increase one thing, what will happen if we decrease one thing. That is all they're going to ask. They're not going to give you numericals. This is a relationship that they have found out. This is not a formula. And in this case, you know that you have to put a constant wherever we want to remove the dependence or anything of that sort, right? So in this case, R is the constant. It is known as the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and it is important parameter for the like impact of abiotic or biotic factor on the growth. So to give you some idea, the magnitude of R values. For example, for the Norway rat, the R is 0.015, and for the flower beetle, it is 0.12. In 1981, the R value for human population was 0.0205. Now you people find out whatever is the R value for now. The above equation describes the exponential or geometric growth pattern in the population. And since it is unlimited growth, so it will be a J-shaped curve, right? Growing as the population is increasing because there is resources present in unlimited number. But all of us know that this is not ideal. This is not practical. Now, the next thing is this particular graph that shows a sigmoid curve, right? A sigmoid S-shaped curve is observed. Now, in this case, the resources are limited. Now, if you are familiar with basic calculus, are you familiar with basic calculus?
No, ma'am.
N at time t, meaning population density after time t, and the population density at time 0. Basically, they are going to tell you the reaction, or you can say the dependence of sort of like how the growth is happening. Any species growing exponentially under unlimited resources conditions can reach enormous population in a short period of time. Darwin showed how even a slow growing animal like elephant could reach enormous number in the absence of checks. Right? Checks happen in the world, right? Environmental checks, then there are certain checks in the population because of which the populations are maintained. Now, the following is an anecdote popularly narrated to demonstrate dramatically how fast a huge population could build up when growing exponentially. Okay, see this thing. This is like sort of like a very story tale, like story tale, story time, like story. It's a story. Okay, it's pointless, and this tells us that how a population can increase if the resources are unlimited. All of you know that. Do I have to explain? No, right? Please read this
No,
on your.
ma'am.
It's like they put grain of rice in each of the checker in the chess and whatever. Basically, they want to say that when the resources are unlimited, the population will grow unlimited. But we know that it is not the practical situation. The resources are not unlimited. So then comes the realistic growth, that is logistic growth. The first one was exponential. Now this is logistic growth. No population of any species in nature has at its disposal unlimited resource to permit exponential growth. It's not possible in the world. This is why there is competition between individuals for limited resources. Right? Competition is everywhere, everywhere. If you talk about in terms of admission, also there is competition, right? One student beating the other student in terms of marks and merit so that they can get the limited number of seats that are available in the famous colleges. So competition is there because the resources are limited. Now, eventually, those organisms that are fit or the fittest, they will survive and they will reproduce, right? Because those that can compete better, they will survive. Now, the government of many countries have also realized this fact and introduced various restraints with a view to limit human population growth. In nature, a given habitat has enough resources to support the maximum possible number. Now, beyond which possible growth, like growth is possible, right? Now, this naturally, whatever nature's resources are provided to us, we call it as the carrying capacity of that species in that particular habitat. A population growing in a habitat with limited resources show initially a lag phase, followed by the phases of acceleration and deceleration, and finally asymptote. See, if you look at this particular graph, right? First, it happens like the growth is happening very slowly. This is the lag phase. Then comes the exponential phase wherein the population increases as the resources they are being used. Or if any one population, they got more resources. And then the growth becomes asymptote, means constant. Then it does not increase further. So since this is a logistic, this is a realistic view, so we know now. Now this is the equation for the logistic one, right?
I didn't understand K.
See, K is the carrying capacity, meaning when the resources are available, even though in a limited amount, we can utilize that resource and the population will grow. It is not necessary for the organism to have more resources in that case. So this limited number, which every ecosystem, every nature of the place where the organism lives, this has, is known as the carrying capacity. It is the, you can say, enough amount in which the population will grow. So a plot of the population density in relation to the time t results in a sigmoid curve in terms of logistic growth. This type of population growth is also known as Verhulst-Pearl logistic growth, because this is more practical approach towards the growth model. And this is described by the following equation. So this is the equation. You should know which equation is for logistic and which one is for exponential. And then the K over here is the carrying capacity. Now, since resources for growth for most animal populations are finite and become limiting sooner or later, the logistic growth model is considered a more realistic growth model. Clear? Now talking about the life history variation. Let me see how much is left. We have a lot of things to discuss. Yes, Miriam, were you saying something? Say, because I did not
Let's
understand.
do it in the next class.
Let's do it in the next class. Still, okay. Let's just keep it till here, but I'll not leave the class right now. You people will not get the leave. Let me ask you some questions. Tell me one thing, students. No, not subject related question. General question. No, now you're fine with that. See, the question that I want to ask you people, tell me sincerely how many of you have started to study for your exams.
Kind of.
Kind of meaning the chapters are being completed, or I'm thinking that I will study. Thinking.
I have 2 chapters left.
To study.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
good.
first term.
That is good.
Me also, ma'am. First, not first
Huh?
two. The micro. Me also, ma'am. Only 2 chapters left to study: evolution and microbes.
Okay. See, students, when you study, try to, you can say, concentrate while you're studying, because many a times what happens, we have the book open, we have the notes available, but our mind is elsewhere. So in in those cases, what do you people want to do? Pay attention and practice as many questions as you can. See the variety the question asks, how the questions are being asked, right? And also one more thing, that since you people are in class 12, the greatest thing that you can do is solve past year papers. How the trend
Is
in the
this guide nice?
Hmm?
Is this guide nice?
All in one. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
good. It is good. But see, when you are studying, try to ask yourself various questions. And if you are not able to answer yourself, come to me with those questions. I don't get any doubts. Like none of you have any doubts, right? This is something maybe you people understood everything, and that's also possible. So are you people giving any test here? How many of you took the test here? I think a test happened on last Tuesday. I think.
Yes,
There
ma'am.
was microbes
4
and all.
chapters.
Yeah. How many of you took that test?
3 chapters, ma'am. Sorry, 3
I
chapters.
think, yeah, microbes, principle of variation, and
And human health,
human health
full
and
chapter.
disease. How many of you took the test? None of you. Okay, anyway, it's all right if you didn't take the test. You can still take the test when your preparation is done, right? But remember, students, please study. Please study. Don't do bow my name. No, that's not acceptable. Right? I have taught you the best of my ability. Right? I have given you my 100%, to be very honest. Did you people feel anywhere that the way I teach lacked something? That also you can tell me so that I
No,
can.
ma'am. No, ma'am. You are way better than any of my school teachers. They just say his notes are not even full completed, ma'am. In my school, he just gives half notes and he says like, "Yeah, you'll get good grades with these notes."
Okay. See, students, that is why I'm asking if you feel, yes, Mariam, you wanting to say something, say.
This chapter is not bio, it's
No,
social.
it's not bio, it's EVS.
Yeah,
It's ecology particularly. It's not bio.
yeah.
That is what I said. When you people wanted to start this chapter, that is what I was saying.
I
I was
didn't
saying
know it
let's
was
start
like that.
biotechnology. That is pure biology. That is what I was saying. Anyway, we'll hopefully inshallah complete this chapter by the next class. So don't worry about that. This chapter is just a story. I'll speak, you listen.
For that chapter, do we have notes?
Biotechnology,
Yeah.
100%. I will not teach without notes.
Okay, nice.
I find this very boring. Teaching like this is very boring
Yeah,
and tiring also.
yeah.
I get tired, my throat hurts because I'm constantly reading for 1.5 hours. So my
It's
throat
so much
hurts.
fun with notes.
Yeah, it's fun with notes. It's better with notes. And you people, I think you people understand better with notes.
Yeah.
Even if I take the same line from NCRT, put it in the notes, you'll understand it better. I
Yeah.
don't know what is the psychology behind that. You people hate NCRT that much? All right.
Your notes are like they're like magical. I don't know why. If I just read it, I understand.
Good. Very happy about that. Then if my notes are doing their magic, great. Just score like magic also, everyone. Okay, so do you people have any doubts up until now?
No.
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
and all of those students that will get the notification for the extra class or the backup class, please join the class because it is very tiresome for me to wait half an hour for you people, right? So join the class on time. Keep your videos on without me asking millions of time, right? And we'll continue the rest in the next class. Hopefully, we'll complete this chapter and then we'll start the last one for your syllabus, that is biotechnology. Then the syllabus will be over, I'll be tension free. So we'll do biotechnology.
The syllabus is over.
No, not the final or the complete. Like
Oh.
I am like we have this particular set of syllabus for half yearly. This is common to you all. Like there are many chapters left still. Good chapters are left. So any doubts up until now?